Right. Today we're going to talk about something totally different. It's about international affairs, and then we all know that like a couple of days ago, maybe 2 days or 3 days ago, Netanyahu from Israel came to the UN, came to New York, had a and for General Assembly, and he had a speech, and then the news says that it's basically almost the empty room. But if I ever, if I ever had the room, if I had the chance to be there, if I happened to be in New York, I'd like to see it, because, I probably, if it's a Trump speech, I probably won't go. But if it's a Netanyahu, I'm really, really curious about what he has to say because all the accusations, all the international isolations, and what he has to defend himself or the country. And but anyway, so by the way, Netanyahu doesn't look like somebody like evil. He looks like a kind, totally harmless, and like somebody's grandfather. But of course, we all know that Netanyahu is not the most extreme in his cabinet. There are other members of very even willing to go more extreme. So that just keep that in mind. But anyway, so he had a very interesting, very powerful, actually, I would say, a speech. The impression that I didn't watch the video. I just read the transcript because it's from. I look at the transcript from the Time of Israel. So it's I think it's at least semi-official resources for sources for that news report. So here it says that he was saying that something that really caught my attention, that when Netanyahu was defending Israel, saying that genocide, what genocide? What are you talking about? We give the pre-warning to Gazans, before we attack. So what are you talking about? I thought that was like an interesting, powerful defense. And then I said, what's the counter argument? Of course, you get smarter when you see the both sides, right? So that's the whole point. So after hearing Netanyahu, I thought I checked on the Google Gemini, and then I found out. I asked it. I said, give me the fact check and the logic check, and to see what if it doesn't make sense. Sure enough, that the Gemini, I think, did a good job. Basically, says that according to international law, genocide, simply given the pre-warning, it's actually the legal requirement. Because international treaty says that before you attack the enemy, if there's civilians there, your job is to give them pre-warning. So that does not necessarily take that away, use that as the strong defense to deny that Israel does not have a genocide. Of course, the other point that Netanyahu is making was that Hamas. Of course, he always blamed Hamas, which is I can believe him to a certain extent. He was saying that Hamas is using their civilians as their human shield. I can believe that. Okay, but here, let's talk about international law. International law says that even if Hamas was doing that, it's still Israel has a responsibility to protect the civilian as much as possible. So I think that's a very interesting point, because we come to such a high level of moral level. It's totally different from the centuries ago. The war is to be totally total brutality, right? There's nothing about we don't care about whether it's civilian or not. We're going to kill you, anybody that I see you from the other side. So I think that's a very good point. Of course, we also have the issue that, whether Israel, simply stating that you give pre-warning does not give us enough details. How long is the pre-warning, and how much time is left for the civilians? How much space is left for the civilians to hide? So those kind of things. I think I learned something from this. So that's one key defense. Another key defense, the second key defense is because I'm only pay attention to the situation in Gaza. To be honest, I don't even care much about the two countries, solutions. I don't think it's likely to be happening because, we all know the ball is on the Israel side. If Israel says no independent, no complete sovereignty for the Palestinian country, I don't think the two country solution is going to be happening. Okay, but anyway, let's go back to this. My simple attention is just that I don't want to get civilians get killed, and either by bomb or by farmings. Okay, so let's come to the farming issues. Netanyahu is saying that what kind of a farming, what kind of the hunger strike that you're talking about? We give a total of 2 million tons of food and supplies into Gaza. That's basically, Gaza is probably like 2 million people. So basically, one person, 1 ton of food, that should be more than enough, right? But then I say, I checked the fact. I say what he said is right. I think it comes down to the issue that there is some nuances. Okay, I think the key issue is that whether that Israel that did or has been allowed some food, some truck into Gaza. I think that's we have to admit it, and we have to accept that, which is good for Israel. Okay, however, there is an issue that whether the food distribution, whether the food is actually reach the intended destinations, okay, in the hand of the people who are dying, who are hungry. Okay, so I think there's an issue of this food distribution. What do we see? What Netanyahu was saying is the situation in the border. In the border, that we do have some food, okay, but keep going. Let the food going deep into Gaza, and then let the food delivered to the hands of the civilians, people who are dying, especially the children. I think that's another story from what I see. Then Netanyahu again is blaming that the ruling by Hamas. They say because Hamas tried to get as much food as possible and then they sell to the civilians. So that's how they fund their war, buy the weapon or whatever. I think I'm not sure if this is the case, because based on the counter argument that I found from Gemini, even there's Israel intelligence report even says that 83% of people died as civilians. And then there are reports saying that along the border, before the food get deep into Gaza, reaching the people's hand, there are interruptions. Okay, but the report, the UN report, basically says that those interruptions, it's not necessarily by Hamas. It's more by hungry civilians. Okay, they just grabbed food. They've been out of food for too many days, so they try to get the food. So that's the two things, the two key facts that I want to check. I want to share with you. So that's it.